Friends, families, ladies and gentlemen, I now present to you Hajji Dr. Roshan Khan of RK's Guyana Free Media.
Thank you, Ms. Lavina, for your introduction. Friends and family, ladies and gentlemen, this is another in the series of In the Raw, RK's Guyana Free Media, and I'm your host, your friend, your brother, Hajji Dr. Roshan Khan. I'm looking at several articles in Saturday edition, March 13th of the Kaito News. And I know a lot of people look out for my messages. Remember, you can check RK's Guyana Free Media in YouTube, RK's Guyana Free Media in Facebook. And also we have it periodically on Watch Party. What caught my eyes on this newspaper is the fact that Guyanese take taxes, pump 4 times more money into the economy than oil. Now, I'm not a person of negatory or negative tendencies. I'm not here also to attack and harass the government of the day. But I just want to give some snippets as to what's happening here from my mind and from my heart. We have to understand that we just started with this enterprise of oil extraction. And we cannot expect to be at the maximum. At one time I was saying, let us take it easy, don't be in the rush as ExxonMobil and other oil companies are. And I was supporting that philosophy of taking it easy. But then I listened very carefully to former President Dr. Hajji, and I analyzed his words. And I agree with him, in which he is saying that oil is going to become, in time, a mediocre business, so to say, or be useless in time because of the new development of technology harnessing solar, which is virtually free, hydro from the waterfalls, even from the Atlantic Ocean, the waves, and from our rivers and moving streams. So I tend to agree with Dr. Hajji. So the point is, we should try to get as much out as possible and make as much money, enough in the sovereign wealth fund for future generations, and with wise and brilliant economy management. Economics is one of the hallmarks of former President Dr. Hajji. And we have the minister within the Ministry of the Presidency responsible for finance. And we have our president, who is a giant of his own stead, so to say, in general leadership, wisdom, and so on. So, I agree we need to extract as much as we can, but here it has been shown in Guyana, taxes pump 4 times more than dollars than the oil economy can. Now, this is where I'm concerned about. I think that in Guyana, the citizens of this country, for the poverty level of this country, we are definitely overtaxed. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, Guyana is definitely an overtaxing country on its citizens. The duties and taxes, including the 14% VAT on vehicles, is sickening to the mind and thoughts of people who can think. Because of poor transportation in the public, or for the public, Guyanese are all clamoring now to have their own motor vehicle because we don't have a proper public transportation system. And everyone has an ambition. So my friends and families, if people are ambitious, you can't stop them from wanting to own a car or transportation equipment. And the kind of duty is too much. The taxes and duty on foodstuff is too much, including the 14% VAT. I have to give credit to His Excellency the President, Dr. Irfan Ali, our Vice President, our Cabinet, for quickly withdrawing VAT on water and electricity, which is one of the pockets and packets of shame of the previous administration. To tax water, to tax basic raw commodities like flour. So I had a problem with them for that, and the government, when it took power, the new government, the PPPC government, immediately moved to withdraw the taxes on that. But the fact remains that the taxes are too much. Let's see quickly what Kaichor is saying. Guyanese over the past 5 years would have been regaled with promises of a better future, living a life on par with the likes of those in rich oil countries like Abu Dhabi, and I will quote Kuwait and so on. But the country's main source of revenue continues to be taxes paid by workers, companies, and domestic transactions. So I have to give Kaichor News some credit for that, for saying that we are an overtaxed people in this country, friends and families, ladies and gentlemen. Earnings from the country's first year of oil production have seen returns on its crude accounting. Crude, that is with our oil. But in less than a quarter of what was collected in taxes from a population of less than 1 million people. So whatever we collected from the crude is less than a third of what was drawn or sucked out or taken away from the Guyanese people. The government last year collected 218 billion in taxes, but received a total of 53 billion from its sale of just over 5 million barrels of oil and a 2% royalty on production. 2% royalty is ludicrous, and we should have been taking the kind of royalty that little Suriname is getting compared to what we are getting. And our signing bonus was totally ridiculous. Now, I don't want to read the entire article because I want to fix it like 3 or 4 parts in this presentation that has to do with oil. Monies, skipping some paragraphs, monies accrued from the sale of Guyana'S oil, however, is deposited in the Natural Resources Fund held in New York Federal Reserve and not directly to the Treasury, with disbursements to be made utilizing special rules promulgated under its substantive legislation to be amended as proposed by the current administration. Ladies and gentlemen, I have some people critical of the government. Why they're not taking the money from the oil and using it? If the government can manage to run Guyana without taking all of that money that we're getting from the oil to just probably waste it out, is a wise idea. Save it and use what you can garner locally, and when necessary, extract small amounts with proper accountability and so on, so the people in the world, the organizations, institutions that watches over our economy can understand that we are doing pretty well and saving a lot for the future to come. So with that, I'll give you one more paragraph on this. The 2% royalty accepted by Guyana on its PSA with the oil consortium in addition to the absence of a breakdown of information on what constitutes cost oil, has been long criticized domestically and internationally by experts in the field. And that is an area that we need to look at. Now, the other article on page 3, 31.4 million barrels of oil extracted from Stabroek Block, says Minister of Natural Resource Vikram Bharat. The Stabroek Block has seen more than 31.4 million barrels of oil being produced in the first year of production from the Liza Destiny floating production, storage and offloading that is referred to as FPSO in Guyana's offshore exclusive economic zone, EEZ. Looking ahead, the country is now poised to uplift 6 million barrels of oil this year as its projected entitlement from production in the Stabroek Block. Having uplifted 5 since production began in December 2019, but the country remains without a marketing form for its crude. So that's another area that they have to look at. Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Bharat yesterday told this publication that work on the drafting of the terms of reference for that initiative are still ongoing, and as such, the document is still to be finalized. So I'm going to just let you know, ladies, that all this oil is coming from one well. And we must remember that we are only getting a part of it. I think it's a third of the entire production. We're getting about 125,000 barrels per day from one well. Trinidad has over 100 wells, and they are getting 100,000 barrels. So this is the power of Guyana. And those who don't understand oil, we have sweet crude. Cheaper, it means, to process. So I'm going to skip some. Culture News is saying this publication understands that Guyana had scheduled 5 lifts of its entitlement in 2020, but did not achieve this because of lower than expected production from the Stabroek Block project. This was due to the recurring problems with the gas compression unit, and that is why they didn't get as much as they anticipated. So I'm going to skip another few paragraphs. Production fell sharply in June and July last year to just about 1.5 million barrels of crude each month, less than half of the FPSO capacity. I'm going to look at, according to the information released by the Ministry of Natural Resources, the country obtained its first shipment of oil in February 2020, collecting 1,006,321 barrels of crude oil and sold it for 54.9 million. The second shipment earned the least so far, with the country selling its 980,854 barrels take from just over US 35 million. The highest earning to date comes from February 2021 shipment of 420 million barrels, which was sold for $61 million. All this money is being saved in our account for future generations. So I don't want to go much more on that. We got an idea what is happening. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, ExxonMobil to test the limits of gas compression equipment. This is coming from Culture News and ExxonMobil Guyana President Alistair Rutledge. ExxonMobil intends to test the limits of its gas compression equipment as it evaluates option to increase the nameplate capacity of Liza Destiny floating production, storage and offloading FPSO. The intention to increase the operations nameplate capacity of 120,000 barrels of oil per day was first announced by Chief Operations Officer at Hess Corporation Gregory Hill during the Stabrook Block Partner 2020 Q4 earnings call in January. And so I'm going to skip some. The company held a press conference on that day to engage the media on their specific concerns and questions about flaring and equipment repairs. What we were testing, Rutledge said, is really in the liquids handling system. No issues were seen there, and the issue is completely unrelated to equipment issue. ExxonMobil has noted in its operational updates that there will be upgrades to the equipment. Asked whether these upgrades are related to plans to increase nameplate, production manager Mike Ryan stopped short of a denial. That's like a big political in answers. He couldn't answer, so he just technically said no, and that's what he's trying to say, but he didn't concur or confirm that. He said the gas stream going through this machine, we are currently at 70%. Any increase is still well within this machine. And so we have contemplated over the life of the facility, and so we are focused right now, though, on getting this machine fixed, getting it on board, stable, background flare, and then we will discuss evaluation of any other capacity. So it's the flaring, this equipment controls that flaring, which destroys our country, other forms of industries like agriculture, forestry, and so on. The equipment is due to return and reinstated by this month end. Friends and family, so there you go, you have that part of it, and I wish to quickly give you a piece more. Media could receive more oil from info upon request. Minister Bharat is saying, Minister of Natural Resources, Vikram Bharat, has said that the media could request the information it needs on oil and gas production and revenues. He made these comments on the sidelines of the opening of Vitality Accounting and Supplies, a new oil service company stationed at Providence in the East Bank of Demerara. This is the sideline he was talking. So he was questioned about more information. So they can't just give out everything like that, because it will take forever. The minister won't have time to do his work. So if the media want, the media can ask for what it wants. The minister said actually finance minister should be the person to respond to that. He should actually be the best person to respond to it, because he is dealing with the reports and declaration and all of that. He encouraged Kaichur News to ask for information it needs. He also encouraged Kaichur News to rely on the senior minister in the office of the president with responsibility for finance, Ashni Singh. So friends and families, information could be gotten. The last and final part I want to give you in this presentation, my beloved and dear friends and families, is that the judge grants ex-president Ramotar 20 million judgment against Kaichur News. Now, I had a case with Kaichur News, but they had asked me after it came up for virtual trial to cancel the suit, which I did, out of the goodness of my heart. They would have had to pay about $10 or $12 million. But I decided to cancel it because I'm not a money crazy guy. And I know Glenn Lal is not a bad man. Glenn Lal is basically a decent guy, concerned with his country, corruption, and so on. And being in the media, one could get lost at certain times. And this is what I think happened to him and his editors and the people that manage the newspapers. I would ask President Ramotar to collect whatever costs he was involved, and possibly to don't enact the judgment and let it be. What is for you is for you. And this here, you were injured, and I'm not saying your case, former President Donald Ramotar, was not right. You felt humiliated, but you have won the glorious battle in an elegant way without cussing down or fighting down Mr. Glenlal or his newspaper. And you've won according to law. So under the circumstances, I am recommending that you don't enact the judgment. Friends and families, your friend, your brother, me, Hajji, Dr. Roshan Khan, in the Raw, RK's Guyana Free Media, and it is my pleasure to have presented this in the Raw.